Well, spy versus spy, not the Mad Magazine version. This one between the Pentagon and the CIA. The Washington Post reporting the Defense Department plans to double the number of spies it has working abroad. The move could be costly and may have real impact on the future of the CIA. Let's bring in the author of that report, Washington Post intelligence reporter Greg Miller, as well as Brad Thor, New York Times best-selling author and a former member of the Department of Homeland Security's Analytic Red Cell Unit. All right, Greg, great story. How does this put these two agencies at odds?
Well, you know, this is there's a long history of these two agencies having a rivalry, but the amazing thing this time around is how they have worked out a deal here where both sides seem to feel okay about it. And when you look at what's happened, you know, this cross in leadership that's happened over the last couple of years, where you have a Secretary of Defense who used to run the CIA, and until a few weeks ago we had a CIA director who used to be a four-star Army general. They've made an arrangement here that seems to work for both sides, so they've reduced that friction, and they're pledging to work together on this.
It feels a little like Russia, though, doesn't it, Brad?
Oh, it totally does. Listen, this is the camel's nose in the tent. The Department of Defense has wanted this for a long, long time. The Russians have the GRU, which is their own kind of military clandestine intelligence service. That's exactly what the DOD wants, except Russia's service doesn't report to the KGB. And for the moment, our service will report to the CIA, but with enough success, they'll be able to peel the CIA away and they'll be able to go their own way.
Bottom line, Greg, is it going to be more effective?
Well, I think for the Pentagon, they think that this will, I think both sides think it will be. One, because you just have a lot more spies overseas, and there are just so many targets that they're focused on right now that they're outnumbered.
Brad, does it work? Does spying work? Is it worth the money?
Not when the CIA does it. That's the big open secret in the intelligence world, is that the CIA is really, really bad when it comes to spying.
It worked in Argo.
It worked. Oh, yeah, Ben Affleck. That's the guy I want to go to for my intelligence information. Listen, if the CIA was as good as they claim to be, and there's a lot of great men and women there, but there's too much bureaucracy, too much red tape, the CIA is lousy at spying, and if they were so good, the DOD wouldn't need their own spying agency, and that's why this is happening.
Okay, so we've got two questions here. Is it going to work? And number two, what is it going to cost, Greg? I mean, is this going to be much more expensive or less expensive than a conventional kind of force?
Well, there's two things. One, the DIA got about $100 million to kickstart this program, but two, they've been told you got to do this without getting any total increase in your budget for the next 5 years or getting any new positions. So what they're doing is they're eliminating existing positions, converting them to clandestine service positions, spying positions, and that's where this is coming from.
You guys want to talk about hot money that sloshes around the globe? Hot black money sloshes around Washington like it's nobody's business, particularly when it comes to the DOD and the intelligence communities. This is going to be a lot more money than $100 million. $100 million isn't going to even get them out of the garage.
But Brad, I get your point. We did a story a couple months ago about like a missing $1 billion for Iraq. I mean, like, you know, things go missing. But is the money better spent on a group of spies?
Oh, yeah.
A drone? A missile? Like, what's the most effective use of money to remain safe?
The most effective use is to put it where we don't have any resources. Human intelligence gathering. You put even
Isn't
a few
that
bucks
spying?
there.
Isn't that what you just described?
But it's different. The CIA does signals collection where they get the electronic information, the electronic spying. We need human relationships, principal agents. That's how we do this.
How much does it cost to train up a spy, and who becomes a spy? I mean, if I wanted to be a spy, how do I become a spy?
Well, listen, if you're going to use non-official cover people, which they desperately need to do here, you can't park all these guys at our embassies and consulates around the world. That's going to be the real key. Those guys are hard to find because they don't grow on trees.
Because they're spies. They're supposed to be hard to find. That's the whole point, right, Greg? Are you a spy? Damn, you got me.
And do they all look like Sean Connery is the biggest question of all. Sorry,
you guys have touched on one of the tough questions here is where do you find room to put all these people overseas? Because you guys are right. You know, the CIA takes up a lot of the slots in embassies with, you know, covered positions, posing as diplomats. How do you make room for 500 to 800 more of these people in embassies? Or, you know, it costs a lot more, and it's a lot harder to do if you don't put them in embassies.
Greg, I mean this like semi-seriously, but I actually am curious. Is there like super secret parts of the CIA that we potentially don't even know about? Like, you see this stuff in movies and all this other stuff. Like, how many agencies really are there working in Washington, D.C.? Honestly, well, I mean, how many layers are there?
Listen, No, I cover the CIA, and I've covered the intelligence beat for a number of years now, and I don't have any doubt that I only know a tiny fraction about what the agency really does, about where its people really are. I mean, of course, they have a lot of secret places and secret things that they do in secret places, and that's just sort of the reality of espionage. This is an area where the Pentagon is trying to move more into that world, more into that secret world, to have more of its own people there.
This is my professional and moral obligation to ask this question, Brad. If we go over the fiscal cliff, what happens to all these spies in the spy program?
Well, listen, there are certain monies that aren't going to be available, but like I said, there's a lot of black dollars that are secreted away out there. I'm not that worried about people in the intelligence community. And keep in mind what Greg was just saying about the CIA. One of the things you need to know about that agency, not a single person got fired after 9/11. That tells you how bad the bureaucracy is there, and that explains why the DOD needs their own intelligence service.
Greg, Brad, thank you so much. James
Thank
Bond
you.
lives among us.
It's like, yeah, how do you know somebody's a spy? Well, it's the guy you don't know, right? It's the guy you don't see. That's why they're spies. They just don't come out. All right, Mitt Romney has a new job, rather, a month after he lost his bid for